The metallic click of handcuffs closing around Marcus Johnson's wrists echoed across the suddenly silent pool deck. Water dripped from his blue swim trunks onto the scorching concrete as two police officers flanked him on either side. His voice trembled with confusion and fear. "I didn't do anything wrong. Please, I'm just here to swim." The summer sun beat down mercilessly as dozens of swimmers froze in place. Phones raised to capture the unfolding scene. Marcus's younger sister Zoe stood paralyzed near the pool's edge, her ice cream cone melting unnoticed down her small fingers, tears welling in her eyes. "Marcus." Their mother's scream cut through the hushed whispers as she raced across the pool deck, beach bag still slung over her shoulder. "What are you doing to my son?" Her voice cracked with panic as she approached, only to have an officer hold up his hand, stopping her several feet away from her handcuffed 15-year-old. "Ma'am, please stay back. We're responding to a trespassing call," the taller officer stated, his voice professionally detached. Behind them, a woman with highlighted blonde hair, styled in an angled bob, and designer sunglasses perched on her head, stood with arms crossed. "I told you, people, this would happen if you didn't follow the rules," she called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm the pool manager, and I decide who belongs here." 20 minutes earlier, Marcus Johnson had been having the perfect summer day. After acing his final exams and completing his sophomore year with honors, he felt he'd earned this day of relaxation at Lakeside Gardens Community Pool. The sprawling aquatic complex with its Olympic-sized main pool, twisting water slides, and expansive lounging areas was the crown jewel of their suburban neighborhood, a place where families gathered during the sweltering summer months. Marcus had arranged to meet his best friends Tyler and Jamal at the pool entrance at noon. They'd been planning this day for weeks, the official start to their summer vacation. Tyler's family had just moved to Lakeside Gardens in March, and this would be his first time experiencing the community pool everyone raved about. Marcus had been coming here since his parents bought their home in the neighborhood 3 years ago. "This place is sick," Tyler exclaimed as they walked through the entrance, taking in the pristine blue waters and carefully manicured grounds. "My old neighborhood had nothing like this." Jamal nudged Marcus with his elbow. "Told you he'd flip out. Wait until he tries the churros from the snack bar. Life-changing." They found a vacant spot on the lawn to drop their towels and bags. Marcus's mother and 10-year-old sister Zoe were supposed to join them later. For now, the three teenagers had freedom to enjoy themselves without parental supervision. They were responsible kids, all honor roll students. Marcus on the debate team, Jamal a rising basketball star, and Tyler already being scouted for track scholarships despite only being a sophomore. "Race you to the diving board," Marcus challenged, already sprinting toward the deep end. The boys laughed as they weaved between lounge chairs and sunbathers, apologizing when they accidentally splashed water on a dozing elderly man. For 45 glorious minutes, they rotated between cannonballs off the high dive, racing each other across the lap lanes, and floating lazily in the current pool. It was during their break, as they sat dangling their feet in the water and discussing their plans to see the new superhero movie that weekend, that Marcus first noticed the woman watching them. She stood by the lifeguard station, designer handbag hanging from her forearm, smartphone clutched in her manicured hand. Her gaze was fixed on the three boys, her mouth set in a thin line of disapproval. When she caught Marcus looking back at her, she didn't avert her eyes, but instead narrowed them further. "Don't look now," Marcus whispered to his friends. "But that lady over by the lifeguard has been staring at us for, like, 10 minutes straight." Tyler glanced over his shoulder. "Probably admiring my diving form," he joked, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Just ignore her," Jamal suggested, but shifted uncomfortably. Some people just have nothing better to do. They tried to resume their conversation, but the weight of the woman's scrutiny made it difficult to recapture their earlier carefree mood. Marcus was contemplating suggesting they move to another area of the pool when the woman approached, her wedge sandals clicking sharply against the concrete. "Excuse me," she said, though her tone conveyed no actual politeness. "I need to see your pool passes." Marcus straightened up. "Our passes. We scanned in at the front gate." The woman, whose name badge read Patricia Winters, Pool Manager, smiled without warmth. "Yes, but I need to verify that you all have proper authorization to be here. This is a private community pool." "I live here," Marcus explained, "in Lakeside Gardens. My family has a membership." "And them?" she asked, gesturing to Tyler and Jamal with a flick of her wrist. "They're my guests. Each membership allows 2 guests per visit. That's the policy." Patricia's perfectly penciled eyebrows arched. "Well, I don't recall seeing you before, and I know most of our regular families. What's your address?" Marcus felt a flutter of unease in his stomach. He'd encountered this kind of questioning before in stores and public spaces, the implicit suggestion that he didn't belong. He gave her his address, 1428 Willow Creek Drive. "That's not in our system," Patricia declared after a performative glance at her phone. "I'm going to need you to leave the pool area until this can be sorted out." "What? That's ridiculous," Marcus protested, his voice rising slightly. "We've been members for 3 years. My mom pays the dues every quarter." Several nearby sunbathers were now watching the interaction with curious expressions. Marcus felt his cheeks burning, not from the sun, but from the humiliation of being questioned like this in front of everyone. "Lower your voice, young man," Patricia hissed. "There's no need to make a scene." Jamal stood up, water cascading down his legs. "Come on, Marcus, let's just call your mom and clear this up." "No," Marcus said firmly. "This isn't right. We have every right to be here." Patricia's face hardened. "I'm the pool manager, and I'm telling you that if you can't produce a valid membership card right now, you need to leave." She turned to Tyler and Jamal. "All of you." Tyler, whose family had just moved to the neighborhood, looked confused and embarrassed. "I live here too, on Magnolia Court." Without proof of membership, that claim is meaningless. Patricia snapped. "I'm responsible for ensuring this facility is used only by authorized residents and their legitimate guests." By now, a small crowd had gathered at a distance, pretending not to watch but clearly absorbed in the unfolding drama. Marcus felt trapped between standing his ground and avoiding a bigger scene. "My membership card is at home," Marcus explained, trying to keep his voice steady. "But the front desk scanned us in. They wouldn't have let us in without valid memberships." "The staff at the front desk is new and makes mistakes," Patricia countered dismissively. "As manager, I have final authority, and I'm exercising it now. Either show me proof of membership or leave immediately." Marcus pulled out his phone. "I'll call my mom. She can bring the card." "In the meantime, I need you to exit the pool area," Patricia insisted, her voice rising. Several more people were openly watching now. "We're not doing anything wrong," Marcus protested. "We paid to be here, just like everyone else." Patricia's face flushed with anger. "That's it. I've had enough of this attitude." She pulled out her own phone. "If you won't comply voluntarily, I'll have to call security." What happened next occurred with stunning rapidity. Instead of calling the pool's security guard as the boys expected, Patricia dialed 911. Standing just feet away from them, she spoke loudly enough for them to hear every word. Yes, I need police assistance at Lakeside Gardens Community Pool. I have 3 young men who have entered the premises without authorization and are refusing to leave when asked. They're becoming confrontational, and I'm concerned for the safety of our members. She paused, listening. No, they haven't directly threatened anyone yet, but they're being belligerent and creating a disturbance. Marcus felt as though ice water had been injected into his veins. That's not true. We haven't threatened anyone. Tyler grabbed his arm. Marcus, let's just go. This isn't worth it. No, Marcus said firmly. We have every right to be here. She's lying about us. Patricia turned her back on them, continuing her conversation with the 911 dispatcher. Yes, I'll stay on the line. Thank you. The next 15 minutes were excruciating. Marcus tried calling his mother, but she didn't answer. She was probably already on her way to the pool with Zoe as they'd planned. Other pool-goers gave them a wide berth, some gathering their children and belongings to move to different areas. A heaviness settled in Marcus's chest as he realized how quickly the situation had escalated and how powerless he felt to control it. When 2 police cruisers pulled into the parking lot visible from the pool deck, Patricia's face took on a satisfied expression. Now, we'll get this sorted out properly, she said, walking briskly to meet the officers at the gate. Marcus watched with growing anxiety as Patricia gestured animatedly while speaking to the officers. One nodded repeatedly, while the other scanned the pool area until his gaze landed on Marcus and his friends. This is crazy, Jamal whispered. We didn't do anything. The officers approached with Patricia trailing behind them, her arms crossed in triumph. These are the young men I told you about. Officers, she announced loudly. They've refused to leave after I informed them they don't have proper authorization to use our facilities. The older officer, whose name badge read Officer Daniels, addressed them directly. I understand there's been some confusion about pool membership. Can I see some ID? Please. Marcus swallowed hard. I don't have my ID with me. I'm just wearing swim trunks. What's your name, son? Marcus Johnson. I live at 1428 Willow Creek Drive, right here in Lakeside Gardens. My family has a membership. Officer Daniels made a note on a small pad. And you two? He asked, looking at Tyler and Jamal. They provided their names and addresses, Tyler explaining that his family had recently moved to the neighborhood. The address he gave isn't in our membership database. Patricia interjected. I checked, and even if he does live here, which I doubt, these other 2 certainly don't have authorization to be here. Ma'am, we'll handle this, the younger officer said. He turned back to Marcus. So, you don't have any proof of membership with you? No, sir, Marcus admitted. But the front desk scanned us in. They wouldn't have let us in if we weren't authorized. He's being deliberately difficult, Patricia interrupted again. I've asked them repeatedly to leave, and they've refused. That constitutes trespassing. The younger officer's posture stiffened. Sir, if you don't have authorization to be here, and the property manager has asked you to leave, you need to comply. But we do have authorization, Marcus insisted, frustration mounting in his voice. My mom's on her way. She can show you our membership card. Don't raise your voice, son, Officer Daniels warned. Let's keep this civil. Marcus took a deep breath, fighting back tears of anger and humiliation. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to explain. We didn't do anything wrong. At that moment, a commotion at the pool entrance caught everyone's attention. Marcus's mother had arrived with Zoe and was being stopped by the front desk attendant, who pointed toward the unfolding scene. "Oh, thank God," Marcus breathed. "That's my mom. She can clear this up." But before his mother could reach them, the situation deteriorated further. Patricia stepped between the officers and Marcus, her voice shrill. "He's been argumentative and disrespectful this entire time. I want them removed from the property immediately and banned from returning." The younger officer turned to Marcus with a hardened expression. "Sir, I need you to come with me now." Why, my mom's right there," Marcus protested, gesturing toward his approaching mother. What happened next occurred in a blur. When Marcus took a step toward his mother, the officer grabbed his arm. Startled, Marcus jerked back instinctively, a motion the officer interpreted as resistance. In seconds, Marcus found himself spun around, arms pulled behind his back, the cold metal of handcuffs closing around his wrists as onlookers gasped and raised phones to record. "You're detaining me, for what?" Marcus asked, his voice cracking as shock and fear washed over him. "For trespassing and resisting an officer," came the terse reply. And that's when Marcus's mother's scream pierced the air, bringing us back to the moment where our story began. The summer afternoon at Lakeside Gardens Community Pool had transformed from an idyllic start to summer vacation into a nightmare. Marcus stood handcuffed in his swimming trunks, dripping water onto the concrete, as his mother was held back by police, and his little sister sobbed nearby. Patricia Winters, the pool manager, watched with arms crossed and a vindicated expression on her face. "My son is a member here. We all are," Lisa Johnson shouted, fumbling through her beach bag with shaking hands. "I have our family membership card right here." "Ma'am, please calm down," Officer Daniels instructed, his hand raised in a stopping gesture. "We're just sorting this out." "Calm down," Lisa's voice rose in disbelief. "You have my child in handcuffs for swimming at a pool where we pay membership dues. How exactly am I supposed to be calm?" By now, nearly every pool patron was watching the scene unfold. Phones recorded from every angle as parents whispered to each other and pulled their children closer. The younger officer maintained his grip on Marcus's arm while radioing something to dispatch. Lisa finally located the plastic membership card and thrust it toward Officer Daniels. "Here, look at this Johnson family. 4 members. We've been residents for 3 years." The officer examined the card, then looked to Patricia. "Ma'am, this appears to be a valid membership." Patricia's confident expression faltered only momentarily. "That doesn't account for these other boys. The policy is 2 guests per membership, and I believe they've exceeded that limit." "There are only 2 guests," Lisa countered, pointing to Jamal and Tyler. "My son Marcus and daughter Zoe are both on our family membership." "And I have my own membership," Tyler added. "My parents bought our house on Magnolia Court in March. The membership was included in our closing costs." A murmur rippled through the crowd of onlookers. Patricia's cheeks flushed red as she realized her position was crumbling. Even if that's true, they were being disruptive and refused to comply with pool management. "That's not true." Jamal finally spoke up. "We were just swimming until she came over, demanding to see our passes. We explained that we'd already been scanned in at the front desk." An older woman in a floral swimsuit stepped forward from the gathering crowd. "I've been watching this whole thing. These boys weren't causing any trouble until this woman approached them." She pointed at Patricia. They were just swimming and talking like everyone else. Officer Daniels looked increasingly uncomfortable with the situation. Can someone from the front desk verify their check-in status? A young woman in a Lakeside Gardens polo shirt nervously approached. Yes, sir. I scanned them in myself about an hour ago. The system showed valid memberships for all of them. Patricia's face contorted with anger. The system must have malfunctioned. I checked their addresses against our database, and they weren't listed. Actually, the front desk attendant continued hesitantly. We've been having issues with the mobile lookup system all week. The main computer database at check-in is the only one with accurate information right now. I sent you an email about it on Tuesday. The crowd's murmuring grew louder. Someone called out, "Take those cuffs off that boy." Another voice added, "This is ridiculous." Lisa Johnson stepped closer to the officers, her voice steadier now that she had regained some control of the situation. I want those handcuffs removed from my son immediately. He has done nothing wrong, and this is traumatizing him and his sister. Officer Daniels nodded to his partner, who reluctantly unlocked the handcuffs. As soon as his wrists were free, Marcus rubbed at the red marks the metal had left on his skin. Lisa pulled him into a tight embrace, her body trembling with a mixture of relief and lingering outrage. "Thank you," she said to the officers, though her tone carried no actual gratitude. "Now, I'd like to speak to whoever is in charge of this facility. Not this woman," she added, gesturing dismissively toward Patricia, "but her superior." "I am in charge here," Patricia insisted, though her voice had lost some of its earlier authority. "Not of the entire Lakeside Gardens Homeowners Association. You're not," said a deep voice from behind them. Gerald Thompson, the HOA president, had arrived, alerted by multiple calls and texts from concerned residents who had witnessed the incident. "Patricia, my office. Now. Officers, may I ask what's happening here?" As Officer Daniels explained the situation, Patricia's face drained of color. More residents had gathered, many of them filming with their phones. The younger officer, noticing the growing crowd and increasingly tense atmosphere, spoke quietly into his radio, requesting additional units. "This is outrageous," Gerald declared after hearing the full account. "Mrs. Johnson, on behalf of the Lakeside Gardens HOA, I want to extend my sincerest apologies to you and your family. This is not how we treat residents or their guests." "An apology isn't enough," Lisa replied firmly. "My son was publicly humiliated and physically restrained for using a pool that we pay to access. I want to know what actions will be taken to ensure this never happens to another child." Before Gerald could respond, a new voice joined the conversation. "Excuse me, I'm Richard Walker from Channel 7 News. We received multiple calls about an incident at this pool. A man holding a professional camera stood behind him. Would anyone care to comment on what happened here today?" Patricia blanched. "This is private property. You can't film here without authorization." "Actually," Gerald corrected her, "the media is here at my invitation. Transparency is essential when addressing serious issues within our community." For the next hour, the pool deck transformed into an impromptu community forum. As additional police units arrived to manage the growing crowd, residents shared their own experiences with Patricia's management style. Multiple families, particularly minorities, recounted similar instances of being questioned about their membership status, despite years of residency. Tyler's parents arrived, confirming their recent home purchase and membership. Jamal's mother, who worked as a civil rights attorney, arrived and began taking statements from witnesses. By evening, What had started as one family's traumatic afternoon had evolved into a community awakening. Channel 7 News broadcast the story on their 6 o'clock report, showing footage captured by poolgoers of Marcus in handcuffs. Social media exploded with the hashtag #JuckSwimmingWhileBlack, and calls for Patricia's termination flooded the HOA office. 3 days later, the Johnson family sat in their living room, still processing the events that had transformed their lives. Marcus had barely spoken since the incident, spending most of his time in his bedroom. Zoe had nightmares about police taking her brother away. Lisa had taken leave from her job as a hospital administrator to deal with the media requests and support her children. "We have to do something," Lisa told her husband Michael as they spoke in hushed tones in the kitchen. "Marcus is withdrawing. This isn't like him." Michael Johnson, who had been out of town on a business trip during the incident, nodded grimly. "I've spoken with Jamal's mother. She thinks we have grounds for a civil rights lawsuit, not just against Patricia, but against the HOA for enabling her behavior and the police department for their excessive response." "I don't know if I want to put Marcus through more public scrutiny," Lisa worried. "But I also don't want him to think we should just accept this kind of treatment." Their conversation was interrupted by the doorbell. Gerald Thompson stood on their porch, looking solemn. "May I come in? I have some information that might be relevant to your situation." Over coffee at the kitchen table, Gerald revealed what the HOA board had discovered in the 72 hours since the incident. "We've been reviewing pool incident reports from the past 2 years. There have been 17 formal complaints about Patricia questioning members' right to use the facilities. 15 of those complaints came from Black or Latino families." Lisa's hands tightened around her coffee mug, and nothing was done. "The complaints were minimized," Gerald admitted, shame evident in his voice. "Patricia has a brother on the board who helped ensure they never received proper attention. But that's changing as of today. The board voted unanimously this morning to terminate her employment, effective immediately." "That's something, at least," Michael acknowledged. "But it doesn't undo the damage to our son." "No, it doesn't," Gerald agreed. "Which is why I'm here with another proposal. We want to work with your family and others who've been affected to completely overhaul our community policies. New membership verification procedures, implicit bias training for all staff, a diverse community advisory committee to oversee recreational facilities, and," he added, sliding a folder across the table, "a formal public apology along with compensation for emotional distress." Michael opened the folder, his eyebrows rising at the figure listed on the settlement offer. "This is substantial." "It's the least we can do," Gerald said. "But money alone doesn't fix the underlying issues. We need voices like yours, helping to reshape our community culture." While her parents talked with Gerald in the kitchen, Zoe knocked softly on Marcus's bedroom door. When he didn't answer, she pushed it open anyway. Her brother lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, headphones covering his ears. "Marcus," she ventured cautiously. He pulled off his headphones. "What's up, Zoe?" She climbed onto the bed beside him. "Are you still sad about what happened at the pool?" Marcus sighed. "I'm not sad. I'm angry. And tired. And I don't know. I just keep thinking about how fast everything changed. One minute I'm having fun with my friends. The next, I'm in handcuffs with everyone staring at me like I'm a criminal." "Dad says you didn't do anything wrong," Zoe stated firmly. "I didn't," Marcus agreed. "But that didn't matter." Zoe was quiet for a moment. "My friend Sophia texted me. She says there's going to be a big swim party this weekend. Everyone from school is talking about it. At Lakeside. No way I'm going back there. It's not just a regular party, Zoe explained. It's called a swim-in, like a sit-in, but with swimming. Sophia says kids from all the neighborhoods are coming to support you. Marcus sat up slowly. What? Before Zoe could explain further, Tyler and Jamal appeared in the doorway. Your mom let us in, Jamal said. We've been calling you. Man. Marcus shrugged. Didn't feel like talking. Well, you're going to want to hear this, Tyler said, holding up his phone. That video of you getting handcuffed has over 2 million views. People are outraged, not just here, but all over the country. Jamal sat on the edge of the bed. My mom says this could be a watershed moment for our community. She's organizing a formal response with the local NAACP chapter and several community organizations. They're calling for a complete audit of all Lakeside Gardens policies and practices. And get this, Tyler added excitedly. Remember that swim-in Zoe mentioned? It wasn't started by kids from school. It was organized by the swim team from Westside High. Their coach saw the video and decided the whole team would come show solidarity. For the first time in days, a spark of interest flickered in Marcus's eyes. Seriously? It's gone way beyond just our neighborhood, Jamal explained. People are using what happened to you to talk about pool discrimination all over the country. There's even a professor from some university talking about the history of pool segregation on the news. Marcus absorbed this information silently. Part of him wanted to hide away from all the attention, but another part recognized the potential importance of what was happening. So, what am I supposed to do now? Everyone's going to be looking at me, talking about me. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, came his father's voice from the doorway. Michael Johnson entered the room, followed by Lisa and Gerald. But there are a lot of people who want to support you. And maybe this is an opportunity to create real change. Gerald stepped forward. Marcus, I owe you a personal apology. As HOA president, I should have been more attentive to the warning signs about Patricia's behavior. The board failed you and other families by not addressing the pattern of discrimination earlier. Marcus nodded, unsure how to respond. His mother sat beside him on the bed and took his hand. You don't have to decide anything right now, but I want you to know that whatever you choose to do, whether it's participate in this swim-in, speak to the media, pursue legal action, or just take time to heal privately, your father and I support you completely. That evening, the Johnson family gathered around the dinner table for the first time since the incident. As they passed dishes and cautiously resumed some sense of normalcy, the conversation gradually turned to the upcoming weekend and the planned swim-in demonstration. So, Michael asked, what are you thinking about all this? Marcus pushed his food around on his plate. I've been texting with Tyler and Jamal. They say over 500 people have RSVP'd to the event page. He paused, gathering his thoughts. At first, I just wanted everything to go away. I was embarrassed and angry. But now, I don't know. Maybe what happened to me could help make sure it doesn't happen to someone else. Lisa squeezed his shoulder. That's very mature, honey. But no one would blame you if you wanted to step back from the spotlight. I think I want to go, Marcus decided. Not to swim, necessarily, but to be there, to show that they didn't scare me away. Saturday morning arrived with unexpected heat, the temperature climbing into the 90s before noon. The Johnson family approached Lakeside Gardens community pool with trepidation, unsure what awaited them. From 2 blocks away, they could hear music and the buzz of a large crowd. "Wow," Zoe whispered as they turned the corner. The street in front of the pool entrance was filled with people, hundreds of them. Families with children, teenagers in swimwear, elderly residents with chairs and umbrellas. Signs bobbed above the crowd. "Swimming is not a crime. Respect all members. Lakeside for everyone." And "Justice for Marcus." News vans from 3 different stations were parked nearby. Reporters doing live stand-ups with the crowd as backdrop. A cheer went up as someone spotted the Johnson family approaching. The crowd parted to create a path for them. People reaching out to pat Marcus on the shoulder or murmur words of encouragement as they passed. At the pool entrance, Gerald Thompson waited with several HOA board members and the newly appointed interim pool manager. "Welcome, Johnson family," he said, his voice amplified by a portable microphone. "And welcome to everyone who has come today to stand against discrimination and support inclusivity in our community." The crowd applauded as Marcus and his family were escorted to a shaded area where chairs had been arranged. From this vantage point, Marcus could see that the pool deck was already crowded with swimmers of all ages and races. The water sparkled in the sunlight. Children laughed and splashed, and there was an atmosphere of joyful defiance that brought unexpected tears to his eyes. Gerald continued addressing the gathering. 5 days ago, an inexcusable incident occurred at this very pool, an incident that forced our community to confront uncomfortable truths about how we treat one another. Today, we begin the process of healing and reform. He outlined the immediate changes being implemented: Patricia's termination, new membership verification procedures that respected dignity and privacy, mandatory bias training for all staff, and the formation of a diverse community advisory board that would include teenage representatives. He then introduced several community leaders who spoke briefly about the importance of vigilance against discrimination in all its forms. When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he approached the microphone with nervous steps. The crowd fell silent as he adjusted the microphone to his height. "I'm not used to public speaking," he began hesitantly. "That's my sister's thing. She's the one who won the school debate championship last year." This earned a gentle laugh from the crowd and a proud smile from Zoe. "I didn't want any of this attention," Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "I just wanted to swim with my friends on a hot day. That's all. But what happened to me is something that happens to people who look like me all the time, in pools and parks and stores and neighborhoods across the country. The only difference is that this time, people were watching. People were recording. People spoke up." He paused, looking out at the sea of supportive faces. "I want to thank everyone who stood up that day at the pool. The lady in the floral swimsuit who told the truth about what she saw. The front desk attendant who confirmed we had checked in properly. My friends who stayed by my side. And everyone who shared the video and demanded accountability." His voice grew passionate. "But this can't just be about one incident at one pool in one community. This has to be about changing the assumptions people make when they see black and brown bodies in spaces where they think we don't belong. Because we do belong. We are residents here. We pay the same membership fees. We follow the same rules. We deserve the same respect and the same benefit of the doubt that everyone else gets automatically." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. When the noise subsided, Marcus concluded with a simple invitation. "Today, let's swim together, all of us, and let's remember how it feels to be part of a community where everyone is welcome." As Marcus stepped back from the microphone, a thunderous ovation filled the air. His parents embraced him, pride evident in their tear-filled eyes. Jamal and Tyler appeared at his side, already in their swim trunks. "Ready to get in the water?" Tyler asked, nodding toward the pool where dozens of swimmers had paused to watch the speeches. Marcus hesitated, the memory of his handcuffing still fresh. But then, he spotted something that changed his mind. The younger police officer who had placed him in handcuffs was present. Not in uniform, but in civilian clothes. He was speaking with Jamal's mother, his expression serious and attentive. "Yeah," Marcus decided. "I'm ready." The symbolic power of Marcus Johnson returning to the pool, where he had been humiliated just days before, was not lost on anyone present. As he dove into the water, another cheer rose from the crowd. Children jumped in after him. Parents followed. And soon, the pool was filled with a vibrant, diverse community, united in both recreation and purpose. Later that afternoon, as the Johnson family prepared to leave, the young officer approached Marcus. "I owe you an apology," he said simply. "I reacted based on assumptions and training that I now recognize were flawed. I'm sorry for how I treated you. And I want you to know that I've requested additional training for our entire department on community policing and bias recognition." Marcus studied the man's face, seeing genuine regret in his eyes. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot." "It's not enough," the officer acknowledged. "But it's a start." In the weeks that followed, the ripple effects of what became known as the Lakeside Incident continued to spread. The local police department announced a comprehensive review of their protocols for responding to nonviolent calls. The HOA implemented all the promised reforms and launched a scholarship program for minority youth interested in careers in community management and public service. Patricia Winters was being investigated for a pattern of discriminatory behavior that extended beyond the pool to other HOA facilities. For Marcus personally, the changes were both subtle and profound. He found his voice as a reluctant but effective advocate for equity in community spaces. His experience became part of a larger conversation happening in neighborhoods across the country about who belongs and who gets to decide. Several colleges reached out with interest in his potential application, impressed by his thoughtful handling of a traumatic situation that had thrust him into the spotlight. 1 month after the incident, the Johnson family attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the renovated Lakeside Gardens community pool. The changes weren't just administrative. The physical space had been transformed as well. A colorful mural depicting swimmers of all races adorned the entrance wall. New signage clearly explained membership policies and the community's commitment to inclusivity. Most significantly, the pool had been renamed Unity Pool at Lakeside Gardens, with a plaque acknowledging the incident that had sparked community transformation. As Marcus stood with his family watching the ceremony, Zoe slipped her hand into his. "Are you glad you decided to speak up?" she asked. Marcus considered the question seriously. The past month had been challenging, with moments of both inspiration and exhaustion. He'd had to relive the humiliating experience countless times as media interest continued and community discussions evolved. But he'd also witnessed genuine change take root in a place he called home. "Yeah," he finally answered, squeezing his sister's hand. "I am. Not because of what happened to me. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But because of what happened after. Because people cared enough to make things better." From across the deck, he caught Tyler's eye as his friend helped set up refreshments for the celebration. Jamal was nearby, deep in conversation with a group of neighborhood kids about the new youth advisory committee they were forming. His parents stood proudly, engaged in conversation with other community leaders about next steps and future initiatives. The new pool manager approached with a small box. "Marcus, the board wanted you to have this." Inside was a specially designed membership card with founding member Unity Pool embossed beneath his name. "We're establishing a tradition," the manager explained. "Every year on this date, we'll host Unity Day at the pool to recommit ourselves to the principles of inclusion and respect. We hope you'll always be part of it." As the ribbon was cut and community members cheered, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced since before the handcuffs closed around his wrists: a sense of genuine belonging. The pool, where he had once been made to feel like an intruder, was now a symbol of community transformation. The water that had dripped from his body as he stood humiliated now welcomed everyone equally. Later that afternoon, as sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Marcus floated peacefully on his back in the deep end, eyes closed against the fading light. The sounds of laughter and conversation drifted across the water, a community healing, one stroke at a time. "Coming in for the group photo," Tyler called from the pool edge. Marcus opened his eyes and smiled. "Wouldn't miss it." As he climbed out of the pool and joined the gathering community members for a commemorative photograph, Marcus caught his reflection in the water, not as a victim, but as a catalyst for change. The ripples from one summer day continued to spread outward, touching lives far beyond the boundaries of Lakeside Gardens, reminding everyone that justice, like water, will always find its level.